Welcome back to Hunter x Hunter Chapter 403 Talk. Real quick, I want to say thanks for 2,000 subscribers. I think of you all as supporters bearing the mark of my resolve. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your sacrifice if it so happens that your soul gets transferred into the body of one of my enemies. That does happen, but it means a lot to me that you're all okay with that. So let's begin by talking about Halkenburg's bow and what happened here. First, his ability gets a name in this chapter, actually 2 names as usual. The kanji name is The Boy Wields a Cruel Bow, which is the title for the Japanese translation of the book We Need to Talk About Kevin. So if you just saw We Need to Talk About Kevin and it didn't make much sense to you as a name, this is why. In Japan, the title is about shooting a bow, Halkenburg is shooting a bow, that's the connection. And the katakana name is Grimmel Le Dissonance. To understand this one, you need to know that David Grimmel is a French violinist who started an orchestra named Les Dissonances. And what's special about this orchestra is that it doesn't use a conductor. There's a philosophical intention here behind not having one person deciding how everyone plays. He's democratized the orchestra. So the connection here is pretty obvious as well. Halkenburg wants to democratize Kakin. He doesn't want there to be one person in charge, i.e. he doesn't want there to be a king. So now we understand the names, let's talk mechanics. I want to quickly skip to the end and say yes, Halkenburg hit Balsamico with the arrow and swapped his own soul into Balsamico's body. I know some people weren't totally sure, like maybe this panel just indicates Balsamico thinking about Halkenburg rather than being possessed by him, but compare it to this panel where Sumidori has possessed Shikaku. We see the same kind of wavy effect. And we also have the phone call to Unma, where Halkenburg has clearly shared some good news with her, so that wouldn't fit with anything going wrong. So yeah, his soul is in there. What does that mean for Balsamico's soul? Well, let's look again at what happened with Shikaku and Sumidori. Halkenburg's follower Sumidori possessed Shikaku's body, and in the meantime, Sumidori's body was left in a sleep-like state. As an experiment, they had Sumidori homie-stock in front of Losers' door, and then Sumidori's body woke up, with someone inside. Based on these panels, I feel very confident that the one who woke up in Sumidori's body was Shikaku. This is not a triumphant Halkenburg follower, happy that it all worked out. This is someone who's looking pretty nervous. So the souls do get swapped, the swap is permanent, and there's no swap back after death. From what we can tell, Balsamico is just in Halkenburg's body, Team Halkenburg plans to kill him in his sleep, and that'll be it for Balsamico Might. Right, so that's the result. Let's back up and make sure we understand how they got him. Halkenburg knew Balsamico was coming because they had a court date. Balsamico was the prosecutor in this case against him for killing Benjamin's soldier Vict when that guy went missing, although the case was weak because there was no body. And when Balsamico shows up, here's the body with a Halkenburg guard soul inside. By the way, I'm guessing the real Vict is already dead, since that would be a really good way to test what happens when the real Balsamico dies in Halkenburg's body. Presumably this guard in Vict's body was unaffected, so they know that Halkenburg will be unaffected as well. Now, here's an exquisite diagram I made showing what happens next. The man and woman are standing in a fixed position at the end of this hallway. The possessed Vict is signaling to Laptop Guy just how far Balsamico is from the man and woman. Then Laptop Guy passes the signal to Halkenburg, who uses that distance to triangulate Balsamico's location in the hallway so he can angle his shot through the wall. This all must have happened in a matter of seconds, because Balsamico didn't have time to move after being surprised by Vict. So Halkenburg's a genius at math and archery. Good for him. What else? Well, we learned that the bow can be charged up by any group of Halkenburg supporters bearing his Mark of Resolve, not just his personal guards. That potentially gives him a lot more ammo, but the personal guards are still the ones best suited to taking over important bodies and carrying out a mission. Some random civilian who likes Halkenburg isn't going to be great at that, but they are good enough for charging the bow. We also got confirmation that Benjamin knew about the bioweapon plan, so we can expect that to be how they get rid of Balsamico in Halkenburg's body. That will serve as the evidence Benjamin's looking for that Balsamico's plan was a success. And we learned what was in Benjamin's letter, the big reveal. Unma is Halkenburg's real mother, and Halkenburg knows about it. He's chatting to her on the phone about his successful body swap, but Benjamin seems to be in the dark. So I want to clarify the wording a bit on these early scans. Not that they're wrong so much as they're ambiguous. The way this reads, it's unclear if Unma is protecting Halkenburg from assassination attempts that actually happened, albeit unsuccessful ones, or if she's protecting Halkenburg from assassination attempts that she imagined would happen if he were raised with Benjamin and Saridnik. But since Benjamin doesn't know if the rumor is true, or who could have possibly dug up evidence about it, I'm making the call that it's option 2. Unma did it preemptively. Halkenburg was never raised in her household at all, and Ben and Sari never tried to assassinate him. I checked this with a Japanese knower on Discord, and he gave me the thumbs up, so thank you, user AOM. If the official translation is more clear on this point, and I didn't have to explain anything, then excuse the digression. But speaking of translations, I want to quickly recommend that you all bookmark Voracious Drake's blog, or Voracious Cakes. It's the same guy. I think it's a regional thing. It's like how in some places they say caramel or caramel. Anyway, Vivacious Blake has been posting his excellent translations of the chapters. They're really clear on points like these, and he includes a lot of footnotes that help you out with references Takashi is making. Stuff like that. Even after you've read the official version of a chapter, you'll get something new out of it if you read what Tenacious Snake has done, so definitely take a look. Anyway, back to the chapter. Benjamin doesn't know who could have evidence about this Halkenburg birth rumor, but we know it was Kaiser. And I've had Kaiser on the brain for the past week while working on my Kacho and Fugetsu video, so let's think this through. If the first prince couldn't find anything on this with all the power he commands, it's probably because almost nobody knows. But Kaiser does know, so who could be his source? Let's make a list of the bare minimum of people in on the secret. Halkenburg knows, but it's not him since Kaiser considers Halkenburg a dangerous unknown. And he questions what a justice-oriented guy like Halkenburg would think of him, so that's ominous. Anyway, besides Halkenburg, Unma knows, there'd have to be a doctor who delivered him, but they're probably not into scheming. Dwazel knows, and Nasubi knows. Not to recapitulate my last video, but if Nasubi is Kaiser's source, that corroborates my idea about him working with the Justice Bureau on everything they've got planned. And it explains how he got all the intel he put into all the letters, since of course Nasubi knows everything that goes on. In a way, this list of who knows about Halkenburg's birth is a new list of potential masterminds for the whole Kaiser scheme, with Nasubi again at the top of my list. What I'm still unsure about is, why did Halkenburg leave his new convert, Wario Bay, with a message for Kaiser when they haven't been working together? It seems implied that Kaiser's being filled in on the whole plan, which is pretty dangerous if Halkenburg doesn't know exactly who Kaiser's working with, whether it's Nasubi or someone else. But how could he know that? I don't know, maybe he just had to tell the Justice Bureau something because he knew they would investigate, and maybe I'm wrong about the implication and Wario doesn't actually explain the whole plan to him. But if he does, this is a dangerous ally to try and make, so Halkenburg better know what he's doing. If you have thoughts on this, let me know how much you think Wario told Kaiser and why he told him anything at all. This is something where I'm basically in the dark, so I really want to see some theories in the comments. Okay, we've covered the main action of the chapter, now let's talk about Kurapika. He's received 2 letters from Melody, one for him, explaining about the spooky ghost hands that get you when you try to leave the boat, and one for Wobble/Oito, containing we don't know exactly what. And now Kurapika plans to show everyone the contents of the Wobble letter, saying it'll be a relief to the older princes that it didn't contain any of their secrets, and that the letter is an expression of Kacho's feelings. So probably no bombshells in there. His most important goal with this move seems to be just bringing one or several of the elder princes to the bargaining table. They might hear about a letter going public and want to stop it from happening. That could be a starting point for a negotiation and possibly a new alliance. So what is Kurapika trying to bargain for? Presumably it has something to do with pulling the plug on the succession war. He sees a ray of hope in this news about a Nen ability that stops you from leaving the Black Whale, and this letter scheme is his first step towards that hope. But we don't know what he's thinking at all, so I'm just gonna make my best guess. Might not even be close, but you know, no fear. Here's my deduction about Kurapika's deduction about how to end the war. My first thought was that the battleground of the war being defined as the boat could mean that they just have to wait it out. But that doesn't really work. They're already trying to wait it out, that's what the Nen class is for, so that wouldn't constitute a new plan or a beacon of light. And even if the Black Whale arrived at its destination and everyone else disembarked, I think the war would still be on for the princes if it hadn't been settled yet, so they'd still have to kill each other before they could safely leave. My second thought was that destroying the Black Whale would cancel the war, but this has the disadvantage of killing everyone, so it's not really the best option when you think about it. Here's the third, much better idea. The Guardian Beacon beasts involved in the war were summoned by the Nen after death of Kakin's ancient ancestor king. So I've been over here assuming the whole seed urn ceremony is also powered by that Nen after death, including the spooky ghost hands that enforce the no quitters rule. But there's a problem with that assumption. How could the ancestors' Nen select the Black Whale as the arena for the war? I could see it choosing some sacred ground in Kakin to be the eternal battleground where the war always takes place, but obviously that's not how it works. The Black Whale is a brand new ship, and the one who selected it as the battleground is the guy who built it, Nasubi. So it's possible that Nasubi is acting as a sort of focus for the Nen after death, and he's able to direct it in matters of contingent rule enforcement. Or it's possible that Nasubi is enforcing these rules all by himself, and the Nen after death has nothing to do with it. So Kurapika, being a lot smarter than me, deduces on his first try that the ghost hands can't be directed entirely by ancient Nen. Nasubi is powering the ceremony, and you could end the war if you stopped Nasubi. But what does the king himself have to say about all this? Oh, he tells Halkenburg that he's a part of the ceremony, he has a duty to fulfill as part of it, and he can't let himself die until it's all finished. That fits with the idea that you could stop the war if you did actually manage to kill him. That seems like it'd be pretty hard to do, but this is where a new alliance with an Elder Prince comes in. Suppose Kurapika were to offer an Elder Prince the following Longi contract. I, and the rest of my alliance, will help you become king by defeating the other belligerent Elder Princes, and in exchange, you spare all of our lives. Right now it doesn't work. The war wouldn't be over until the princes were down to one survivor. But enter the ray of hope. What if he offered this? I and the rest of my alliance will help you become king by defeating the other belligerent Elder Princes, and in exchange, you help us defeat Nasubi and then spare all of our lives. Now that could be a genuine path to a peaceful ending, if Kurapika can bring a strong Elder Prince to the bargaining table somehow. Of course, Zhonglei isn't a great option to try and crown like this, because despite being the third prince, he doesn't have any Nen users at his disposal or no Nen himself. Tubepa's pretty weak in that respect too, so the allies that Kurapika's already got won't cut it. I don't know, maybe a really strong Elder Prince will turn up. Someone Kurapika already wants to get close to, who would have no qualms about killing his father if Nasubi is even his father at all. I guess we'll just have to keep an eye out for a good candidate. Again, all of this is just my best guess for what Kurapika is thinking, but it would explain why he wants to open a new negotiation so soon after inking his deal with Tubepa. And it would explain how the awful news about the ghost hands actually lights the way forward for him. Now let's wrap up with some stray thoughts. First, I want to be really self-indulgent and say I called that a birth reveal was coming and not a parentage reveal, meaning that Dwazel wouldn't be the mother. I didn't quite lay my money down on the Unmo thing since I said we didn't have a motive, but now we do. She didn't think much of her first two kids and wanted to keep the third one safe before backing him for the throne. You could argue her motive was to keep him safe because he's the Beyond baby, but I'm still skeptical on that point. He looks exactly like Benjamin, and now we know that does matter, so it'd be a big surprise to me if they've got different fathers. For the Beyond baby, my money's still on Serednik, who's the odd brother out in terms of appearance. Second, there's a little theory on Reddit about how Serednik secretly read this Kacho letter using his ability. I'm doubtful for a few reasons. After his 10 seconds are up, the people near Serednik see him where he really is again, so he'd have to run over and grab the letter, read the thing, and get back to where he was all in 10 seconds to avoid giving away what he can do. I don't even think he could do the reading part in 10 seconds, and it seems like the letter was turned away at the door, so now we have to add time unlocking and opening the door and closing and relocking it. I just don't think so. And what would the payoff be? It's not like he'd be privy to something he wasn't supposed to know. Kacho sent him the letter because she wanted him to read it. That means there's no advantageous secrets for him in there. If anything, it would just be a distraction. And we know how Serednik feels about distractions right now. His favorite guard tried to shoot him in the head, and he was too busy thinking about Nen to worry about why. So yeah, I think he just wasn't willing to read the letter. That makes way more sense to me. Third, someone asked me for a theory on the Zhonglei coins, and I don't really have one yet, but I'll let you know how I think things stand. The coins fall out of the beast's mouth, they have a number that gets higher over time, and the obvious thing to do is stick them back in the mouth to try and get something out of it. It makes no sense for them to be at their most valuable right when they're created, so we can assume the higher numbers are better. If you have a coin, you want to wait and wait with it to maximize your gains. I think this is the point. Instead of inspiring loyalty the way Benjamin or Halkenburg do, Zhonglei makes loyalty to him a matter of self-interest to everyone with his coins, since they want him to rule a nice long time while their coins mature before they cash out huge. It almost doesn't matter if what they grant is money or luck or something else abstract, because most people wouldn't be cashing them in unless they absolutely had to. Everyone would be waiting and greeting out for a higher return later. So that's how I think it's supposed supposed to function. I don't think this is another mechanism to grant people Nen powers. I think it'd be a little absurd to add another one of those right now. And Zhonglei felt like the power wouldn't be good during the war, but only get good after, so let's just say he's right. And finally, I have to mention the implications of the Unma Dwazil Halkenburg reveal for my Silent Majority video from a couple weeks back. I went into this whole theory about how the Silent Majority user was helping Halkenburg and how that implicated Queen Dwazil, who was secretly trying to put him on the throne. Now we know that there is a queen trying to crown Halkenburg, but it's Unma. So could Unma be the mastermind instead? She doesn't have any of her queen's guards in the room, but as many Reddit posts will tell you, the killer might not be in the room. Or maybe she's suborned one of Dwazil's guards, or maybe Dwazil is genuinely cooperating with Unma and all of her guards are at her disposal. It could be the case that Dwazil loves her adopted son better than her biological children, and she's just behind Unma and Halkenburg the whole way. It's hard to say as yet, but now that we've gotten Unma in the flesh, I'm hopeful that we'll get a better look at the Unma-Dwazil relationship and a sense of Dwazil's true intentions soon. And that is going to do it for chapter 403. This was a pretty long one, but there was a lot of ground to cover this time, so forgive me. I'm still reading all the comments, so let me know if I missed anything or if there are any questions I didn't answer. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.